Alexander Hart stood beside the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse, watching the city lights shimmer like distant stars. You know, they say money can buy anything. I used to believe that. But what if all the wealth in the world can't buy you peace, or trust, or even a real family? What if it just builds walls, and it takes a tiny, unexpected hand to tear them all down? At 32, I had it all. $1 billion tech empire, properties sprawling across 3 continents, cars that cost more than most people's houses. Yet, that night, I felt emptier than the marble halls of my own penthouse. My old butler had just retired, and the housekeeping agency sent someone new, Elena Martinez. She was 28, a single mom, and she cleaned my home 3 times a week. Honestly, I barely noticed her at first. She moved through the rooms like a ghost, efficient, invisible, exactly how I preferred my staff. But then, things started to change. Little things. A gold pen from my desk. A designer watch left on the bathroom counter. Cash right out of my wallet. My jaw would just tighten thinking about it. I'd given Elena every benefit of the doubt. Raised her salary without her even asking. Even let her bring her daughter when childcare fell through. And this was how she repaid my kindness. I'd seen it before. People who smiled to your face, or while their hands were in your pockets. My ex-fiancé taught me that lesson, scarring my trust deeper than I cared to admit. She'd loved my money, not me. The moment a prenuptial agreement appeared, her true colors came blazing out. So, that night, I decided. I'd set a trap, not to catch Elena. I had security cameras for that, but to see just how far her greed would go. On the glass coffee table in my living room, I arranged a display. 10 crisp $100 bills fanned out like playing cards, a Rolex worth $30,000, and a handful of expensive Swiss chocolates, glinting in gold foil wrappers. Enough temptation to reveal anyone's true nature. I positioned myself on the leather sofa, closed my eyes, and regulated my breathing to mimic sleep. The security camera would capture everything. Finally, irrefutable proof. And maybe, just maybe, this betrayal would hurt a little less because I'd seen it coming. Then, the elevator chimed. Elena's key turned in the lock. I heard her voice, soft and gentle, a little tired but so warm. Come on, sweetheart. Mama has to work, but you can play quietly, okay? Small footsteps pattered across the floor. My eyes stayed closed, my breathing steady. I heard Elena gasp softly. She must have seen the money, the valuables, spread across the table. This was it, the moment of truth. But what happened next? It shattered every single assumption I had ever built. No, baby, don't touch, Elena whispered, urgency in her tone. That's Mr. Hart's things. We don't touch what isn't ours. My chest tightened. Through barely parted eyelids, I saw Elena gently redirecting her daughter away from the table. The little girl, no more than 2 years old, had been reaching for the shiny chocolate wrappers. But shiny, Mama, the child protested, her voice tiny. I know, love, but they are not ours. Come, let's clean the kitchen first. If you're very good, Mama has a cookie in her bag for you. My mind reeled. She wasn't taking anything. She was actively teaching her child not to take things. My elaborate, cynical test suddenly felt so cruel, so incredibly small. For the next hour, I just listened to Elena work. She hummed softly while cleaning, occasionally speaking gently to her daughter. Careful, baby. Don't get too close to Mr. Hart. He's sleeping. The little girl babbled responses, that unclear way toddlers have, and Elena would answer as if she'd spoken perfect English, patient, loving. I'd never heard such tenderness in my own childhood. My parents had nannies, boarding schools. They showed their love through trust funds and stock portfolios. Affection was a quarterly dividend. Pride was measured in profit margins. Mama, who? The little girl suddenly asked, her voice closer now. That's Mr. Hart, sweetheart. He gives Mama a job so we can have our apartment and food. We should be grateful for kind people. Kind, I nearly opened my eyes in shock. I'd barely spoken 10 words to Elena in 3 months. I'd set this trap, assuming the absolute worst about her, and she thought I was kind. "He's sleeping?" the child asked. "Yes, baby. Very tired from working hard, just like Mama gets tired. We should let him rest." I heard the little girl's footsteps come even closer. My breathing remained even, though my heart was pounding now for entirely different reasons. What was she doing? Tiny fingers touched my hand. Soft, gentle, exploratory in that way only a toddler's touch can be. Then, to my complete shock, I felt tiny arms wrap around my neck, a small warm body pressed against my chest. "Daddy," the little girl whispered, her face buried in my shoulder. "I love you." My breath caught. My eyes flew open without conscious thought. The child was black, her hair in tiny twisted braids, her brown eyes enormous and trusting. She smiled at me, a pure, unconditional smile that expected nothing but loved everything. "Maya, no." Elena rushed over, her face stricken with horror. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Hart. I'm so sorry. She doesn't. She's never." But I couldn't speak, couldn't move. The little girl, Maya, was still hugging me, still looking at me with such complete trust and affection. My arms moved on instinct, coming up to steady her small body against my chest. "Why?" I finally managed, my voice hoarse. "Why did she?" Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry. Her father, who left when she was 6 months old, walked out and never came back. She sees men so rarely, and she..." Elena's voice broke. "She's so hungry for a father's love that she calls any kind man daddy. I should have watched her better. Please, Mr. Hart, don't fire me. I'll make sure she never..." "The money on the table," I interrupted, my mind still reeling. "The what?" "The chocolates. You didn't take anything." Elena looked confused. "Sir, they're yours. Why would I take them?" But things had been disappearing. My gold pen, my watch. Understanding dawned on Elena's face, followed by something that looked like profound disappointment. "You thought I was stealing from you, Mr. Hart." She shook her head. "I would never." She stopped, took a breath. "Your pen rolled under the radiator in your office. I found it during deep cleaning and left it on your desk. The watch was in your gym bag. I noticed it when collecting your laundry and put it in your closet safe. The money..." She paused. "I don't know about missing money, sir, but I've never taken a single thing from this home." Shame crashed over me like a cold, crushing wave. Every missing item had a simple, innocent explanation, and I'd assumed the worst. I'd set this elaborate trap because a wealthy woman had once lied to me, and I'd let that poison my view of everyone else. Maya patted my cheek with her small hand. "Daddy happy?" she asked, sensing my distress. I looked down at this tiny girl who had nothing, no father, probably very few toys, living in whatever small apartment Elena's modest salary could afford. And yet, she was offering me comfort. She was offering me love. Something inside me cracked open. A wall I'd built brick by brick, betrayal by betrayal, suddenly developed a fissure. And through that crack, warmth began to seep in. "I'm sorry," I whispered, not sure if I was speaking to Elena, or to Maya, or to myself. "I'm so sorry." Elena moved to take Maya from my arms, but I found myself surprisingly reluctant to let go. The little girl had settled against me as if she belonged there, her tiny thumb in her mouth, her other hand clutching my shirt collar. It had been so long since I'd experienced human warmth that wasn't transactional or temporary. "Please," I said quietly, "let her stay, just for a moment." Elena hesitated, then nodded, perching nervously on the edge of the adjacent chair. Her hands twisted in her lap. I could see the fear in her eyes. Fear of losing her job. Fear of having somehow offended me. Fear born from a life where security was never guaranteed. "Tell me about her father," I said, surprising even myself with the question. Elena's face tightened with old pain. There's not much to tell, Mr. Hart. Marcus and I met when I was 24. He was charming, good-looking, said all the right things. We married within 6 months. She gave a bitter laugh. I thought I'd found my fairy tale. Then I got pregnant. She paused, gathering strength. Everything changed. He complained that I'd trapped him, that he was too young for fatherhood, that a child would ruin his freedom. But I hoped, that when Maya was born, when he held her, he'd fall in love like I did. But he didn't, I finished softly. He left the hospital before the birth. Just didn't show up. I called him for hours, terrified something had happened. His brother finally told me the truth. Marcus had bought a plane ticket to Nevada. He wanted me to abort the pregnancy, and when I refused, he decided he wanted no part of our lives. Maya stayed in my arms, making a small sound. Elena's expression melted into pure love as she looked at her daughter. I got the divorce papers 2 months later. He signed away all parental rights. I haven't heard from him since. It's been just Maya and me against the world. I felt anger kindle in my chest, not at Elena, but at a man who could abandon such a gift. How do you manage? Barely, Elena admitted with painful honesty. I work 3 jobs. I clean homes during the day, work at a grocery store in the evenings when my neighbor can watch Maya, and I do online data entry at night after she's asleep. I sleep maybe 4 hours on a good night. She met my eyes, but Maya has what she needs. Food, clothes, a roof over her head, and all the love in the world. That's what matters. And you? I asked. What do you have? The question seemed to surprise her. I have Maya. That's everything. I looked down at the child sleeping against my chest. Maya's tiny hand had relaxed its grip on my shirt, but still rested there, trusting me completely not to let her fall. When was the last time anyone had trusted me like this? When was the last time anyone had looked at me and seen something other than my bank account? I owe you an apology, I said, my voice rough with emotion. A real one. I assumed the worst about you based on nothing but my own cynicism. I thought everyone had a price. Everyone was looking for an angle. I've been so surrounded by people who want something from me that I forgot there might be people who want nothing at all. Elena's eyes widened. Mr. Hart, you don't need to. I do, I interrupted. I set this up tonight. I gestured to the money and valuables on the table. I pretended to sleep to see if you'd steal from me because a few things had gone missing. And rather than ask you about it, rather than trust the person who's been nothing but professional and reliable, I assumed you were a thief. Understanding and hurt flickered across Elena's face. Oh, I'm not asking you to forgive me, I continued. I'm just asking you to know that I see how wrong I was. You've worked here for 3 months, and in that time, you could have taken 100 things. You've had access to everything, and you've never touched a single item that wasn't yours. You've taught your daughter the same values. And here I am, supposedly educated and successful, and I don't have half your integrity. Silence fell between us, broken only by Maya's soft breathing. Finally, Elena spoke, her voice gentle. I understand why you'd be suspicious, Mr. Hart. People with wealth face those kinds of problems. People pretending to care when they really just want access to money. It must be lonely, never knowing who to trust. Her empathy, after what I'd done, undid me completely. It is, I admitted, the words escaping before I could stop them. It's incredibly lonely. Maya chose that moment to wake. She blinked up at me with sleepy eyes, then smiled. That same pure, trusting smile that had shattered my defenses earlier. Daddy, she said contentedly, snuggling closer. Baby, no, Elena said gently. That's Mr. Hart, not Daddy. Maya's face crumpled with confusion, but nice, like Daddy should be. I felt something break and mend simultaneously in my chest. This child, who had never known a father's love, had somehow decided that I fit the role based on nothing more than me not pushing her away. It's all right, I heard myself say. She can call me whatever she wants. Elena looked shocked. Mr. Hart, you don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. I looked at Elena, then down at Maya. Would you both like to stay for dinner? Real dinner? Not. I gestured vaguely. Whatever I was planning. We could order something. Pizza, maybe? Do you like pizza, Maya? The little girl's face lit up. Pizza. Elena bit her lip, clearly torn. Mr. Hart, we shouldn't impose. You're not imposing. I'm asking. Please. The word came out more desperately than I'd intended. When was the last time I'd shared a meal with someone that wasn't a business dinner or charity gala? When was the last time I'd wanted to? Elena looked at her daughter's excited face, then at my expression, and whatever she saw there made her decision. Okay, thank you. We'd like that. 2 hours later, we sat on the floor of my living room. Elena had insisted it would be easier with a toddler than the formal dining table. Pizza boxes spread out, Maya babbling happily between us. She'd covered herself in tomato sauce and was now offering sticky cheese pieces to me with great enthusiasm. For you, Daddy, she'd say each time. And each time, my heart would constrict a little more. You don't have to eat every piece she offers, Elena said with amusement, watching me dutifully consume the mangled slice Maya had squished in her tiny fist. Are you kidding? This is the best pizza I've ever had, I said solemnly to Maya, making her giggle. Silly Daddy, Maya pronounced, patting my cheek with her sauce-covered hand. Elena reached for a napkin. Maya, gentle. It's fine, I said, even as red fingerprints decorated my face. I was wearing a shirt that probably cost more than Elena's monthly rent, and it was now covered in pizza grease and tomato sauce. And I genuinely didn't care. When was the last time I genuinely not cared about something like that? As the evening wore on, I found myself watching Elena and Maya with growing fascination. The way Elena anticipated her daughter's needs before Maya could even express them. The way she made silly faces to encourage Maya to eat her vegetables. The way she sang soft little songs in Spanish that made Maya clap her hands. This was love, I realized. Not the Hollywood version. Not the greeting card sentiment, but the real, exhausting, beautiful work of it. You're a good mother, I said quietly while Maya was distracted with a makeshift toy, a wooden spoon and a plastic container that somehow entertained her completely. Elena looked up, surprised. Thank you. I try. I worry I'm not enough, that she needs more than one tired woman can give her. You're more than enough. She's lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have her, Elena corrected. She saved me, Mr. Hart. When Marcus left, I was broken. I built my whole life around the idea of family, of marriage, of partnership. When that disappeared, I didn't know who I was anymore. But then Maya was born. And suddenly, I had a purpose bigger than my broken heart. She needed me to be strong. So I became strong. She needed me to keep going. So I kept going. She gave me a reason. I thought about my own life, the empire I'd built, the wealth I'd accumulated, the success everyone envied. What was my reason? What got me up in the morning besides the next deal, the next acquisition, the next milestone that left me feeling just as empty as before? I envy you, I said. Elena laughed, but not unkindly. You envy me, Mr. Hart? You have everything. I have nothing that matters, I said simply. I have money and things and investments, but I don't have what you have. I don't have anyone who looks at me the way Maya looks at you. I don't have a reason. The words hung in the air between us. Elena's expression softened. Then maybe it's time to find one. The following week passed in a way I'd never experienced. I found myself rushing home from the office on the days Elena worked. Something my assistant noted with barely concealed surprise. You're leaving at 5, sir? Is everything all right? Everything was more than all right. For the first time in years, I actually wanted to be home. I had insisted Elena bring Maya every time she came to clean, and I'd set up a corner of my living room with toys I'd ordered online. Nothing extravagant. I'd asked Elena first what Maya would like, not wanting to overwhelm the little girl. Soft building blocks, picture books, stuffed animals. Simple things that somehow brought more life to my penthouse than any expensive art piece ever had. Today, I found Elena in the kitchen, Maya seated at the counter with a coloring book. The little girl's face lit up when she saw me. "Daddy home?" She had started calling me that constantly now, and Elena had stopped correcting her. I'd made it clear I didn't mind. In fact, hearing that word from Maya's lips filled a void I hadn't even known existed. "Hey, sweet girl," I said, scooping her up. She immediately launched into a detailed description of her day in the rapid-fire, barely coherent way of toddlers. Something about a bird and a cookie and Mama's shoes. I nodded solemnly, as if I understood every word. Elena smiled at us from the sink. "You're getting good at toddler translation." "It's a valuable business skill," I said seriously, making her laugh. Over the past week, I'd learned more about Elena's life. She lived in a one-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood that made me wince when I looked it up online and saw the crime statistics. She and Maya shared the bedroom while she'd converted the living room into her workspace for her night jobs. She hadn't bought herself new clothes in 2 years. She walked 40 minutes each way to my building to save on bus fare. And through it all, she maintained such grace and dignity that it humbled me. "I have a proposition," I said, setting Maya down with her blocks. "And I want you to really consider it before saying no." Elena's shoulders tensed slightly, a reaction that told me she was used to propositions from wealthy men being something other than innocent. I hurried to clarify. "I want to offer you a position, full-time, as my household manager." Elena blinked. "Mr. Hart, I already clean your home. This would be different. I'm home more now, and I need someone to manage things. Coordinate with vendors, handle deliveries, manage the calendar for maintenance, oversee other staff. You'd have real responsibility, real authority, and the salary would be significant enough." I named a figure that made Elena's eyes widen. "You could quit your other jobs." "Mr. Hart, that's too much. It's standard for this type of position in homes like this. Actually, it's on the lower end." That was a lie, but I could see her pride warring with her need. "And there'd be benefits. Health insurance, retirement contribution, paid time off." "Why?" Elena asked quietly. "Why me? You could hire someone with experience, credentials." "Because I trust you," I said simply. "Because you're honest and hardworking and kind. Because Maya needs stability, and you need security. And because—" I hesitated, then continued. "Because you make this place feel like a home instead of just a house." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Please, let me do this." "It feels like charity." "It's not charity. It's me being selfish. I need someone I can trust. Someone who will tell me the truth instead of what they think I want to hear. Someone who sees me as a person instead of a bank account." I met her eyes. "You'd be doing me a favor." Elena wiped her eyes. "Can I think about it?" "Of course. Take your time." But before the day was out, she'd said yes. She gave notice at her other jobs, and within 2 weeks, she'd moved her entire life into the rhythm of my household. I'd offered her the guest suite in the penthouse, 3 rooms that went unused, but she'd declined. "I need my own space, Mr. Hart. Boundaries are important." I'd respected that, even as I was disappointed. The penthouse felt too large and empty when they weren't there. Maya, however, had no concept of boundaries. The moment Elena wasn't looking, the little gal would escape to find me, no matter what room I was in. I'd be in my home office, focused on emails, and suddenly small arms would wrap around my leg. "Working, Daddy." "I am." "Want to help?" "Yes." So I'd lift her into my lap and she'd press random keys on my keyboard while I pretended she was contributing something vital. "Excellent work, Maya. Very professional." My business partners on video calls were initially shocked when a toddler would appear on screen, but I found I didn't care what they thought. Maya would wave at the camera, and these serious businessmen would wave back, sometimes with genuine smiles instead of their usual corporate masks. "Is that your daughter?" one of them asked once. I paused. Yes, she is. And it didn't feel like a lie. One evening, Elena found us asleep in the living room. I was stretched out on the sofa, Maya curled up on my chest, one of her picture books fallen open on the floor. Elena stood in the doorway for a long moment, something complicated flickering across her face. "I'm sorry," I said groggily, waking to find her watching. I was reading to her, and we both "It's okay," Elena said softly. "You're good with her." "She's easy to be good with." "Not everyone thinks so. My mother stopped visiting because Maya is too much work. Marcus's family acts like she doesn't exist." Elena's voice held old pain. "But you, a billionaire who could be anywhere doing anything, you choose to read picture books and play with blocks." "Best part of my day," I said honestly. Maya stayed, making a small sound. Elena moved to take her, but I shook my head. "Let her sleep. She's fine." So Elena sat in the adjacent chair, and we stayed like that. A strange little family that wasn't quite a family, but something neither of us could quite name. The silence between us was comfortable, broken only by Maya's soft breathing and the distant sounds of the city below. "Can I ask you something personal?" Elena said eventually. "Of course." "Why don't you have children of your own? You're wonderful with Maya. You'd be a great father." My hand automatically moved to stroke Maya's back. I was engaged once. Sarah. She was beautiful, sophisticated, everything I thought I wanted. We talked about children, planned for them. But when I asked her to sign a prenuptial agreement, something my lawyers insisted on, everything changed. I paused, the memory still bitter. She told me that if I really loved her, I wouldn't need a legal agreement. That asking for one proved I didn't trust her. We fought for weeks. Finally, she signed it, but everything was different after that. Cold, distant. Then I overheard her on the phone with her friend, talking about how she just had to play the part for a few years, have a kid or two to secure the inheritance, then divorce and live off the settlement. Elena's sharp intake of breath told me she understood the betrayal. So I broke it off, and I promised myself I'd never let anyone close enough to hurt me like that again. That I'd never bring a child into the world unless I was absolutely certain about their mother. I looked down at Maya's sleeping face. I've kept that promise until now. I didn't think I was missing anything. But Maya, she's shown me what I've been avoiding. "Love always requires risk," Elena said quietly. "That's what makes it valuable." "What made you willing to risk it again?" I asked, after Marcus. Elena smiled. "I didn't choose to risk it. Maya just loved me unconditionally from the moment she was born, and I couldn't help but love her back. Love isn't always a choice. Sometimes it just happens." I looked at Maya, then at Elena. "Yeah," I said softly. "Sometimes it does." 3 months into the new arrangement, my life had transformed in ways I couldn't have predicted. My home wasn't a showpiece anymore. It was lived in. Maya's drawings decorated my refrigerator. Her tiny shoes lined up by the door. Elena's presence had brought warmth to every corner, from the kitchen that now smelled like home-cooked meals to the living room that echoed with a child's laughter. But with this transformation came complications. My stepmother arrived unannounced one Tuesday afternoon. Catherine Hart was 65, perfectly coiffed, and perpetually disappointed in everyone, especially her son. She swept into the penthouse like she owned it, which, technically, she partially did through various trust arrangements. "Alexander, we need to discuss this year's charity gala." She stopped short when Maya ran past, chasing a ball, giggling wildly. "Who?" Catherine said in the tone one might use to identify an insect. "Mama." Maya called, spotting Elena coming from the kitchen. "Ball goes zoom." Catherine's eyes narrowed as she took in Elena. Her simple clothes, her warm brown skin, her young age. "Alexander, a word. In private. In your office." With the door closed, Catherine unleashed her displeasure. You've hired domestic staff that brings their children to work? That's highly irregular. What if the child breaks something? This is a liability nightmare. Maya isn't a liability. She's a little girl. And who exactly is her mother? Some young woman you've installed in your home? Alexander, really? If you're going to have a mistress, at least be discreet about it. Anger flashed hot through my chest. Elena is not my mistress. She's my household manager, and even if she were anything more, she deserves your respect. Oh, please, a black woman half your age with a child. I can see exactly what this is. How much is she extorting from you? Get out. My voice was ice. Catherine drew herself up. Excuse me. I said, get out. Elena has more integrity in her little finger than most people in our social circle have in their entire bodies, including you. And if you can't respect her and Maya, you're not welcome in my home. My mother's face went through several expressions. Shock, anger, calculation. You're serious? You're actually throwing me out over the help. I'm asking you to leave because you're being cruel, and I won't tolerate that anymore. Not here. Not in the one place I've actually found some peace. Catherine left, but not before delivering a parting shot. This will end badly, Alexander. Women like that always have an angle, and when she shows her true colors, don't come crying to me. The door closed behind her with a definitive click. Elena had witnessed the whole thing from the hallway. She'd come to ask about lunch and heard the raised voices. When I emerged, she was pale. Mr. Hart, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause problems with your family. You didn't cause anything. My mother did. I rubbed my face tiredly. Elena, I need you to understand something. My mother lives in a world where everyone has ulterior motives because that's how she operates. She can't conceive of people being genuine. But she's right that this looks complicated. A young woman living in your home. You spending time with her child. I don't care how it looks. You should. Elena's voice was firm. You have a reputation, a business. People will talk. They'll make assumptions. Let them. Mr. Hart. Alexander, I interrupted. Please, just Alexander. Elena met my eyes, and something passed between us, an acknowledgement of something neither of us was ready to name. Alexander, then. But we need to be smart about this. For Maya's sake, if nothing else. I don't want her caught in the middle of gossip or speculation. She was right, and I hated it. But before I could respond, Maya appeared, having escaped from whatever containment Elena had arranged. She went straight to me, arms up. I lifted her automatically. Little sweet girl, I make happy. She kissed my cheek with a loud smack, then snuggled against me. Love you, Daddy. And just like that, the darkness my mother had brought dissipated. I held this little girl who had no reason to love me except that she'd chosen to, and I felt my heart expand in a way that was almost painful. I love you too, Maya, I whispered, the words coming easily now. Over Elena's head, I saw Elena watching us, her expression a mixture of tenderness and something that looked like fear. I wanted to ask her what she was afraid of, but Maya was chattering about her toys, and the moment passed. That night, after Elena and Maya had gone home, my phone rang. My lawyer, Richard, sounded concerned. Alex, I heard about the confrontation with your mother. She called the firm asking about legal ways to ensure you're not being taken advantage of. Christ, she actually did that. She's worried, even if she's expressing it badly. Look, I have to ask, are you involved romantically with this woman? No, but you want to be. I was silent. Alex, I'm your friend, not just your lawyer. I can hear it in your voice when you talk about them. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but you need to protect yourself. A cohabitation agreement. Clear documentation of financial arrangements. I mean, what if something happens? What if she gets hurt in your home? What if Maya does? What if this relationship, whatever it is, ends badly? You need protection from a woman who's never asked me for a single thing, who actively tried to talk me out of paying her more. Richard, Elena isn't Sarah. I know, but the law doesn't care about good intentions. It cares about documentation. I hung up feeling sick. I looked around my immaculate penthouse, worth millions, filled with expensive things, and suddenly it felt like a trap. Why did my wealth have to complicate everything? Why couldn't I just care about people without lawyers and contracts and suspicions? I thought about Maya's unconditional love, about Elena's gentle strength, about how simple and pure their presence made everything feel. Then I thought about my stepmother's accusations, Richard's legal concerns, the way the world would view our situation through the lens of money and race and class. For the first time in my life, I understood what Elena meant about boundaries. She'd been protecting them all along. Protecting Maya from becoming too attached to something that might not last. Protecting herself from hoping for more than I could give. Protecting me from the complications my world would create. But it was too late for boundaries. Maya already called me daddy. Elena already felt like home. And I was already in far too deep to find my way back to the safety of isolation. The question was, what happened now? The next few weeks were strained. I could feel Elena pulling back, creating distance even while physically present. She was perfectly professional, perfectly polite, and it was driving me absolutely crazy. The easy conversations over dinner had become brief updates on household matters. The comfortable silences had become awkward gaps. Only Maya seemed oblivious to the tension. She'd throw herself at me the moment I came home, demanding stories and games and attention. And every time I held her, every time she called me daddy, I saw Elena's expression tighten with something that looked like pain. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. We need to talk. It was a Friday evening. Maya was already asleep on the guest room bed. We'd fallen into a pattern where Elena would stay late on Fridays and Maya would nap before they went home. Elena looked up from her phone, where she'd been reviewing her schedule. I could see the dread in her eyes. Okay. We sat in the living room, an awkward distance between us on the sofa. I didn't know how to start, so I just said it. Tell me what's wrong. Really wrong. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Maya's getting too attached, she finally said. To you. To this place. She doesn't want to leave when we have to go home. She cries for you at night. She started telling people you're her daddy, and I don't know how to explain to a 2-year-old why that's complicated. Why is it complicated? Because this isn't real. Elena's composure cracked. This isn't our life, Alexander. You're a billionaire. We clean your house. At some point, this arrangement will end, and Maya will be heartbroken. She's already lost one father. I can't let her lose another. What makes you think this will end? Everything ends. You'll get married eventually, have your own children. Or you'll get tired of having us around, of the complications we bring. Or, her voice dropped, you'll realize that a black single mother and her daughter don't fit into your world, and it'll be easier to let us go. I felt like I'd been punched. Is that really what you think? That I see you as temporary? That I care about what my world thinks? I saw what happened with your mother. I heard how your lawyer talks to you on speakerphone. I'm not naive, Alexander. I know what people are saying. That I'm a gold digger. That I'm using my daughter to manipulate you. That I'm not good enough for your world. You're better than my world. I said fiercely. You're real. You're honest. Yo. I stopped, realizing I was about to say something I couldn't take back. I'm what? Elena's eyes were bright with unshed tears. You're everything I didn't know I was missing, I said quietly. You and Maya, you've made me feel more alive in 3 months than I felt in 3 decades. When I wake up now, I actually want to face the day because I know you'll be here. When I come home, it's not to an empty house. It's to laughter and warmth and someone who's genuinely happy to see me. Not my money. Me. Alexander, I know this is complicated. I know my mother is a nightmare, and my world will judge us. And there are 1,000 reasons this doesn't make sense on paper, but Maya called me daddy, and I realized that's all I've ever wanted to be. Not a billionaire, not a CEO, just someone's daddy. Someone. Elena was crying now, tears streaming down her face. You don't understand what you're asking. If you want to be Maya's father, if you want to be part of our lives in a real way, then you're choosing us. All the complications that come with us, the stays when we go out together, the assumptions people will make, the fact that your children will be mixed race, and the world will have opinions about that. The fact that I come with trauma and baggage and a failed marriage and debt. And I don't care about any of that. You should, because I do. I care that Maya will grow up hearing whispers about how her mother trapped a rich man. I care that she'll face prejudice because of who we are. I care that one day you might wake up and realize this was all a fantasy, and we're the ones left picking up the pieces. I moved closer, taking her hands. Elena, look at me, please. She did, her brown eyes swimming with tears and fear and something else, something that looked like hope despite herself. I can't promise you that this will be easy, I said. I can't promise that people won't talk or judge or make assumptions. But I can promise you that I will never walk away from you and Maya. I can promise that whatever prejudice she faces, we'll face it together. I can promise that she will never wonder if she's loved or wanted or valued. And I can promise that I see you, not as my employee, not as some fantasy, but as a woman who's brave and strong and beautiful, and who's made me want to be a better man. Alexander, this is crazy. It is. Completely crazy. But so is a 2-year-old walking up to a stranger and deciding he's her daddy. So is me finding more joy in reading picture books than closing business deals. So is the fact that I'd give up every dollar I have if it meant keeping you both in my life. Elena's breath caught. You can't mean that. Money was supposed to make me happy. It was supposed to solve everything. But all it did was build walls around me. You and Maya, you knocked those walls down. You showed me what actually matters. And what's that? Love, family, coming home to people who are excited to see you because of who you are, not what you can give them. Maya hugging me just because she wants to. You singing in Spanish while you cook. The sound of her laugh. The way you look at her like she's the most precious thing in the world. That's what matters. And I want it. I want all of it. I want to be there when she learns to ride a bike. I want to help with homework and attend school plays and have family dinners. I want to be her daddy for real. Not just because she calls me that. Elena was sobbing now. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. Both of you. I'm saying I want you to move in here. Really. Move in. Not as an employee, but as family. I'm saying I want to adopt Maya if you'll let me. Give her my name. Make sure she never has to worry about having a father again. I'm saying. He took a shaky breath. I'm saying I want forever with you. If you'll have me. You barely know me, Elena whispered. I know that you work 3 jobs to give your daughter a better life. I know that you teach her kindness and honesty and love. I know that you've never asked me for anything, even when you desperately needed help. I know that you make me laugh and challenge me and see me as a person instead of a bank account. I know that when you walk into a room, everything gets brighter. What else do I need to know? Elena pulled her hands away, standing up and pacing. This is too much. Too fast. You're not thinking clearly. I've never thought more clearly in my life. What about your business? Your reputation? Your family? My business will survive. My reputation doesn't matter. And my family. I stood, facing her. You and Maya are my family. The only family I want. Alexander, I can't let you throw your life away. I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally building something real. Elena, please. I know I'm asking for a leap of faith. I know you have every reason to be scared, but I'm scared, too. I'm terrified that you'll walk out that door and take Maya with you, and I'll go back to that empty, meaningless existence I had before. Please, don't make me go back to that. Elena stopped pacing, turning to face me. In her eyes, I saw her own battle. Fear warring with hope. Logic fighting emotion. Self-protection struggling against the desire to believe. If I say yes, she said slowly, If I take this leap with you, you have to understand what you're getting. Maya will have nightmares. She'll have hard questions about why her biological father left. She'll need therapy someday to work through abandonment issues. I have student loans I'm still paying off. I have trust issues from my marriage. I overthink everything. I'm not some perfect fantasy. I'm a real person with real problems. Good, I said, because I'm a real person, too. I'm controlling sometimes. I work too much. I don't know how to be in a relationship because I've been avoiding them for years. I'll probably mess up 100 times, but I'll keep trying. For you. For Maya. For us. Us. Elena repeated, testing the word. Us. I confirmed. Maya's voice suddenly called from the guest room. Mama, where you go? Elena and I looked at each other, and something shifted. Elena wiped her eyes and called back. Coming, baby. We walked to the guest room together. Maya was sitting up, her hair mussed, rubbing her eyes. When she saw us both in the doorway, her face split into a huge smile. Mama and Daddy, both here? Yes, sweet girl, Elena said softly. Both here. Maya held out her arms, and we both moved forward. I was on one side of the small bed, Elena on the other. Maya pulled us closer until our heads were nearly touching, and she giggled with pure joy. My family, she announced. Mama, Daddy, and Maya. Family. Over Maya's head, I met Elena's eyes. She was crying again, but smiling, too. You're sure, she whispered. I've never been more sure of anything. This is going to be hard. I know people are going to say terrible things. Let them. You're probably going to regret this when Maya's a teenager. That surprised the laugh out of me. Probably. Elena reached across Maya, taking my hand. Okay. Yes. Let's try. Let's be a family. Maya squealed with delight, though she couldn't possibly understand the significance of what had just happened. But in her 2-year-old wisdom, maybe she understood perfectly. Love was simple. Family was simple. It was only adults who made it complicated. Love, Daddy, Maya said, patting my cheek. Love, Mama, she added, patting Elena's cheek. Love Maya, she finished, patting her own chest, making us both laugh through our tears. That's right, baby, Elena said. We all love each other. And in that moment, in a guest room in a billionaire's penthouse, surrounded by picture books and stuffed animals, a family was born. Not through conventional means or logical decisions, but through the purest force in the universe, a child's unconditional love, and 2 adults brave enough to accept it. 6 months later, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, adjusting my tie for the 3rd time. My hands were shaking, something that never happened before business presentations or investor meetings, but apparently happened when you were about to stand in front of a judge and make everything official. You look fine, Elena said from the doorway, stunning in a simple cream dress that I had definitely not bought her. She'd insisted on purchasing it herself, maintaining her independence even as she'd moved into my life completely. I look terrified, I corrected. That, too. She smiled, walking over to fix my tie properly. But it's a good terrified, the kind that means what we're doing matters. Daddy, Mama, come see. Maya's voice called from the living room. We found her standing proudly in front of a drawing she'd made. Stick figures labeled Daddy, Mama, and Maya, surrounded by hearts and flowers and what might have been a dog. I had promised would get one once the adoption was finalized. It's beautiful, sweetheart, Elena said, crouching down to admire it properly. For the judge. Maya explained seriously. She was 2.5 now, her vocabulary exploding daily. So she knows we're family. My throat tightened. That's perfect, Maya. She'll love it. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, less intimidating. My lawyer, Richard, was there, but more as a friend than a legal necessity. Elena had wanted her own representation, which I had absolutely supported. The process had been straightforward. Marcus had signed away parental rights years ago, and he'd raised no objection to the adoption. In fact, he'd seemed relieved to officially sever all legal ties. "All rise," the bailiff announced. Judge Martinez, no relation to Elena, we checked, was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She reviewed the paperwork, asked Elena several questions about her consent and understanding, and then addressed me. "Mr. Hart, you understand that adoption is permanent, that you're accepting full legal and financial responsibility for Maya Elena Martinez." "Yes, Your Honor, I understand completely." "And you understand that she'll have all the rights of a biological child, that you cannot simply change your mind if circumstances become difficult." "Your Honor, I would never want to. Maya is already my daughter in every way that matters. This is just making it official." Judge Martinez looked at Maya, who was sitting on Elena's lap, unusually quiet. "And what about you, young lady? Do you know why we're here today?" Maya nodded solemnly. "So Daddy can be my real daddy forever and ever." "And is that what you want?" "Yes, I love my daddy." The judge smiled. "Well, then, based on the evidence presented, the consent of the biological mother, the termination of paternal rights by the biological father, and the clear best interests of the child, I hereby grant the petition for adoption. Mr. Hart, you are now legally recognized as Maya Elena Martinez's father." The gavel came down, and I felt something fundamental shift in the universe. I was a father, legally, officially, forever. Maya launched herself at me. "We did it, Daddy. You're my real daddy now." "I was always your real daddy, sweet girl," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "But yes, we did it." Elena was crying, and so was Richard, though he tried to hide it behind a cough. Judge Martinez was smiling as she filled out paperwork. "There's one more thing," I said, pulling an envelope from my pocket. "If Your Honor will permit it." Elena looked confused as I handed her the envelope. Inside were two documents. One was a proposal for a college fund in Maya's name that would cover any education she desired. The other was something that made Elena's eyes widen. A deed. "Alexander, what?" "It's the apartment building where you used to live. I bought it 3 months ago. I'm having it renovated to provide safe, affordable housing. The deed is in your name. You'll manage it however you see fit. I thought maybe we could make sure other single mothers have the stable housing you deserved, but couldn't always afford." Elena stared at me. "You bought an apartment building. Is that weird?" "It feels weird when I say it out loud." She kissed me, right there in the courtroom, while Judge Martinez chuckled and Maya cheered and Richard pretended to be very interested in his phone. "It's perfect," Elena whispered against my lips. "You're perfect." "I'm really not," I said, "but I'm trying." We celebrated that night with pizza on the floor, Maya's insistence, and sparkling cider, since Elena was 3 months pregnant with a surprise neither of us had planned, but both welcomed with joy. A baby. Maya had announced to everyone she met since finding out. "I'm going to be a big sister. Daddy and Mama are making me a baby." I had to explain to several confused strangers that it was phrased poorly, but factually accurate. Now, watching Maya demonstrate to her stuffed animals how to be gentle with babies, I felt that overwhelming surge of gratitude I experienced daily. My mother had eventually come around. Her grandchild softened even Catherine Hart's hard edges. My business associates had adjusted to seeing family photos on my desk. The gossip had died down when it became clear this wasn't a scandal, but simply a love story, though there were still challenges. Maya had asked about Marcus recently, why he left, why he didn't want to be her daddy. Those conversations were heartbreaking. Watching her process rejection, she was too young to understand. But I always reminded her, some people don't know how to see treasure when it's right in front of them. But I see you, Maya, every single day. I see how special you are. "Because you're my real daddy," she'd say confidently. "Exactly." Elena joined me on the couch, leaning against my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" "How much has changed? A year ago, I was planning to trap you in some stupid test to prove you were stealing from me. Now we're married, expecting a baby, and I've never been happier. Married, Elena said softly, looking at her wedding ring. A simple band, because she'd refused anything ostentatious. Sometimes I still can't believe it. We'd had a small ceremony 2 months ago. Nothing extravagant. Just close friends. Elena's family who'd flown in from Puerto Rico, and Maya as a flower girl who'd taken her job so seriously she'd arranged each petal in a perfect line. My mother had cried during the vows, though she denied it afterward. Believe it, I said, kissing her temple. You're stuck with me now. And you're stuck with midnight feedings and diaper changes. And I can't wait. I meant it. I had hired a nanny, Elena's choice, someone she trusted completely. But I fully intended to be hands-on. I'd already read 17 parenting books. Richard thought I was insane. Daddy! Maya called. Come play house. You're the daddy, I'm the mama, and my teddy bear is the baby. That's oddly meta, Elena murmured. I'll explain meta when she's older, I said, standing up. Right now, I have a very important tea party to attend. I settled on the floor with Maya, accepting a toy teacup filled with imaginary tea, listening to her narrate an elaborate storyline involving bears and princesses and a baby who kept getting into trouble. This was my life now. Not board meetings and stock portfolios, though those still existed. Not charitable galas and investor presentations, though I still attended. But this, sitting on the floor with my daughter, my pregnant wife watching with soft eyes, my penthouse cluttered with toys and love and life. Later that night, after Maya was asleep and Elena was drowsing on the couch, I stood at my window, looking out at the city. This was where I'd stood a year ago, empty and cynical, believing everyone had a price, and love was just another transaction. Then a little girl had hugged me and called me daddy, and everything changed. I thought about the money on the table that night, my test, my trap. Elena hadn't taken a single chocolate, hadn't touched a single bill. She just redirected her daughter and continued working, teaching Maya integrity with every action. But Maya had taken something far more valuable than money. She'd taken my heart, and I'd never want it back. Come to bed, Elena murmured from the couch. You'll wake Maya with all that sentimental thinking. I laughed. Can I sentimental think in bed? Only if you hold me while you do it. I helped her up. She was just starting to show, and I was absurdly proud of that small bump. Our baby, my son or daughter who would grow up with Maya as a sister, who would know from birth that they were loved unconditionally. In bed, Elena curled against me, her hand over my heart. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For not pushing Maya away that first night. For letting her call you daddy. For seeing us as a blessing instead of a complication. For loving us. Elena, I should be thanking you. You gave me everything. A daughter, a family, a reason to come home. You taught me what love actually means. What does it mean? I thought about it. It means a 2-year-old choosing you for no reason except she feels it in her heart. It means putting someone else's happiness before your own. It means showing up every day, even when it's hard. It means choosing someone over and over, not because you have to, but because you can't imagine doing anything else. Elena was crying again. Pregnancy hormones made her emotional, which I found adorable. When did you become so wise? When a little girl taught me to see what really matters. When her mother taught me to be brave enough to reach for it. They lay in comfortable silence, and I felt that profound peace that had eluded me for 30 years. My penthouse was no longer empty. My life was no longer lonely. I was no longer just a billionaire. I was a father, a husband, a man who'd learned that the most valuable treasures couldn't be bought. From Maya's room, we heard a small sound. I started to get up, but Elena stopped me. Your turn tomorrow. I took last night. We'd created routines, shared responsibilities, equal partners in this adventure. But then we heard it clearly. Daddy, Mama. We both went, finding Maya sitting up, clutching her favorite bear. "Bad dream," she said, her voice small. I scooped her up while Elena grabbed her favorite blanket. We brought her back to our bed, something the parenting books said not to do, but something our hearts insisted on. Maya snuggled between us, safe and warm. "Tell me a story," she asked. "About the family." "Once upon a time," I began, "there was a man who had everything but nothing that mattered. Then one day, a little girl walked into his life and called him Daddy, even though she'd just met him. And that little girl, along with her amazing mama, taught him what love really means." "What does it mean?" Maya asked, even though she'd heard this story a dozen times. "It means family," I said simply. "It means you and Mama and the baby coming, and all of us together." "Forever?" Maya asked. "Forever and ever." "Forever and ever," Elena confirmed. "Good," Maya said contentedly, closing her eyes. "I love you, Daddy. I love you, Mama." "We'll love you, too, sweet girl," we said in unison. And as I lay there, with my daughter between me and my wife, listening to both of them breathe softly in sleep, I realized something profound. That night a year ago, when I'd set my trap with money and valuables, I'd been testing for the wrong thing entirely. Maya hadn't wanted my chocolate or my money. She'd wanted my love, and in giving it freely, unconditionally, to this child who'd had every reason to be cautious, but chose trust instead, I'd received something infinitely more precious in return. Purpose, family, home. All the money in the world couldn't buy what a 2-year-old had given me for free. The chance to be someone's daddy. To be chosen not for what I had, but for who I was. To be loved not because I was perfect, but because love doesn't require perfection. It just requires showing up, being present, choosing each other every day. And as I drifted off to sleep, my wife's hand in mine, my daughter's small body tucked safely between us, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd finally found what I'd been searching for my entire life. I'd found home. Not in a penthouse or bank account or business empire, but in the hearts of two people who saw me, really saw me, and loved me anyway. And that was worth more than all the billions in the world. So, that's my story. It's been a crazy, beautiful journey. I guess it just goes to show, you never know where you'll find the most important lessons, or the most unexpected family. Have you ever had a moment where everything you thought you knew got completely flipped on its head? Tell me about it in the comments below. I'd really love to hear your experiences.